experience around the franchise industry. And the benefit is that Jeff not only is a franchise consultant, but he also has worked as a franchisor and carrying out the development of their plan and growth. He was also a franchisee of a profitable business in the fitness industry and has been an investor in multiple franchise businesses over the years. So thank you, Jeff, for joining me today to talk about franchising and your experience in this business industry.
Zach, thanks so much for having me on and giving me the opportunity to talk about franchising a little bit. I know you do a lot with independent businesses, so I always love to get on and discuss franchising.
Absolutely. I think there's great opportunity in this that people don't even recognize. And I think one of the things that people recognize very well is that when they think of franchises, they think of McDonald's, they think of Burger King, they think of Taco Bell. They think of those things that they see every day. And I'm picturing the golden arches as I wave my hands in the air here.
I
Because,
like those arches.
yeah. And if I understand correctly, I think McDonald's is one of the biggest franchises in the world. Is that accurate?
Yeah, McDonald's is probably the one company that everybody in the world knows what
Yeah.
McDonald's is, and they've done a great job, and they've been franchising for a long time. But you bring up a really interesting point in that what I love about what I do is most people get on the phone and they say, I don't want to open a McDonald's or a Subway or something like that. And
Right.
I said, don't worry. There's so many opportunities out there that have nothing to do with food. And in fact, franchising is really just a system of doing business that a company chooses as its growth strategy. So rather than opening a mall themselves, they say, hey, we've got this great system. We're going to sell the rights to the system to somebody else, and we're going to expand that way. And so franchising runs across at least 75 different industries and many storefronts that you see, but also a lot of non-storefront and service-based businesses that are really great opportunities for a lot of people.
Yeah. So, I mean, does somebody have to have a ton of money to get into this franchise world? I mean, that's again one of those conceptions that I've had over the years is that someone has to have quite a bit of money to be able to become a franchisee. Is that accurate?
Actually, it's everybody has a different number for what quite a bit of money is.
Yeah, right.
But
Facts.
I would say that there are a lot of franchises in the $100,000 total investment range, some either lower. And I work with opportunities that are in that range and up to $1 million or $2 million and everything in between. So again, many non-storefront businesses that are highly scalable can be invested and gotten into for $100,000 or less. So there's some great opportunities, and there's also financing and funding available to individuals. Typically, you got to come to the table with about 25% in cash, and you can finance the rest. But you don't need a ton of money. You don't need $1 million to go open a business. That's for sure.
Yeah. And do you find that there are some franchisees that do work with investors then to help with that cash outlay that on the front end?
Yeah, there are definitely franchisees that are excellent, operators maybe in their current role and don't have quite enough money to do it on their own, and they go out and look for silent partners or investors to help them. But there really are some great funding resources out there for individuals. Yeah. And we could do a whole podcast on all the different ways that you can finance a franchise, but there's a lot of different opportunities out there than the standard, SBA loans and what other people are thinking about as well, probably.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well, let's go back a little bit and talk about when you were getting into this world and your role and your experiences that you've had when you worked for a franchisor and you became a franchisee yourself. I mean, there's a starting point that comes with all of this that progressed you to today. So give me some of that history.
Oh, that's fun. That's an interesting story because franchising was not, on the horizon. I loved sports and I wanted to get into some kind of sports management or, maybe be the a GM of a basketball team or
Sure.
do something. So I had an internship in college at the CAP Center. And then when I graduated, I had an opportunity to become a franchise development assistant for the Athlete's Foot. And in my mind, I was thinking, oh, I'm going to help all these athletes buy franchises. And it was anything but. But I fell in love with franchising and decided that I'd much rather stay in the franchise world and make my living doing that, and then I can buy tickets to whatever games I want to go to. So
Okay.
that's worked out well. But it's been an interesting ride for me. It's been about 30 years, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
and then the other interesting thing that happened about 20 years ago, my or 21 years ago, my son was born. September 11th happened. I had moved to
Okay.
Detroit for my wife. Her family's from here, and basically my company downsized the whole franchise division. So
Yeah.
much like people that I work with today, I was looking around trying to figure out what the best option would be. And I found Franchoice, which is a franchise consulting company that helps people find franchise opportunities. And I love it. I've been doing it ever since. I love matching people to businesses. So
Yeah.
sorry, that's a long-winded
No,
answer, but it's been a fun ride for sure.
absolutely. I think we need the details to get
Yeah.
how you got to where you are today. I think that's helpful to see that. And so then along with that, as you were starting to be involved with franchise, you started kind of your own company, essentially Franchise Guidance, right? That's your organization that you operate out from.
Exactly. So if you think about franchise, it's kind of like if you had a Remax real estate
Hmm.
agency, but you called yourself Real Estate of Detroit or something of that nature. So I operate under the franchise system,
Yep.
but I market myself as Franchise Guidance, and really focus on building that as the main brand behind it, so people know to come to me if they've worked with
Yep.
me and they want to refer somebody over to me. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And like a realtor or an organization that you are independently contracted by, you have to be good at what you do to be able to get more work, or you're not going to be in that business for very long, I imagine.
Yeah, it's not easy. You mentioned, you're right. We are independent contractors, so I'm
Hmm.
self-employed. And the key is doing a good job for people, helping people find the
Yeah.
right fit, helping people realize success through business ownership or entrepreneurship. And fortunately, I've been able to do it for 20 years, and now the majority of my business is referral based, which is
Yeah.
a lot nicer than internet leads and things of that nature.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
but
Yep.
it's a long. We've talked about this, and it's a long time cycle. So some people take
Mhm.
60 days to make a decision, but some people take 6 months or 9 months to make
Right.
a decision. So it's one of those things where you have to work with a lot of people, and you have to be
Yep.
patient, and you really have to try your best to do the right thing for people. But it's definitely a rewarding business. So
Yeah. No, and that's it right there. Doing the right thing for people, helping people to also have that win so that they can profit in something that they are excited to be involved with, I think is a key factor here. And one that I think was helpful when you and I worked together.
sure.
I mean, for those of you that don't know, is that Jeff and I worked together on evaluating franchise opportunities. And actually, at the time when I started working with Jeff, and I let him know this not too long ago,
Right.
I had no intention immediately to become a franchisee. I just thought it'd be interesting to explore what is this world like? I'd met someone who had been an owner of multiple franchise businesses, partner in others, and had started a franchise, and thought, wow, that's fascinating. So, in conversations with Jeff, he walks through a process and helps to evaluate what might be a good fit. And in no point did I feel any pressure in that process, which was really cool to actually just have someone take that time, knowing that they might not get anything out of it in the end. But ultimately, I did end up deciding to sign on as a franchisee with a salon studios company. So excited for that as we're getting that process rolling.
Yeah, and that's why it's always good to have a conversation. You never know what's
Mhm.
going to happen. You never know what's going to come from it.
Yep.
The way I look at these conversations is you might decide not to buy a franchise ever, but if I can be a resource for you in the future for somebody
Mhm.
that you run into that might be looking to make a change, um, and we've had a good conversation, you'll feel comfortable referring them over to me. And in your particular case, you've got a lot of I think interest in real estate and a
Yep.
background in real estate as well. And so we're able to find an opportunity that I think a lot of people wouldn't even realize is out there as a franchise, which is a salon suite, which is very similar
Yeah.
to a real estate play. So
Yeah.
I'm glad
Absolutely.
you had the conversation, and
Yes,
probably
me
glad
too.
you didn't tell me on the first call that you didn't want to do anything.
Right. No, I can
I
imagine
still
that.
would have had the call though with you. I still would have had the call with you.
Well, I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
appreciate your patience and working through the process. So, what is that process like for somebody that might be interested in exploring becoming a franchisee? How do you evaluate opportunities and help them to ultimately find an opportunity that would be a good fit for them?
Yeah. So normally somebody will come to me and we'll have a 15, 20-minute conversation. I'll ask them a few questions, get a little bit of an understanding about their situation and discuss my service and how it works. And if they're
Yep.
comfortable, we move forward and schedule a time for a much more in-depth Zoom consultation. We spend about 90 minutes together, really getting an understanding of all of the criteria that's important for somebody in finding the right business. So, whatever their goals are, what they're trying to accomplish, their skill sets, their interests, their investment criteria, and then any characteristics that are important to them, because
Right.
every business is going to have a different set of skill sets and characteristics. And I want to make sure that the individuals I work with are going to be happy in that business. And it's really important to me that the most important criteria of the business to make it successful, that franchise owner is comfortable with overseeing that role, basically,
Yep.
or handling that role.
Right.
And so after we build this model together, then I go find franchises. We've pre-screened hundreds of franchises in all different
Hmm.
industries and investment levels. And so I go find franchises that fit their criteria. I make sure territory is available and things of that nature and come back
Yep.
and present the options. Where I switch a little bit, or where it's a little different from a real estate agent or an executive recruiter
Hmm.
or something like that, I'm not the salesperson of any of the companies.
Yep.
So my role, once I'm able to introduce somebody to opportunities, is to really let the franchise development team teach them about their specific opportunity, because I know a little
Yep.
about a lot, and definitely not a lot about about
Yep.
many things. Um, but what I do know is how to investigate a franchise. And so I
Yeah.
stay on board and I provide a lot of tips and resources and act as a sounding board. But as an individual is going through the process, I have all kinds of like I said, resources to help them go through and make an educated decision and feel
Yeah.
good about the choice that they're making. And then, you know, from there, I do my best once they move forward to stay in touch. But at that point, they're really working with the franchisor to help them
Yep.
be successful. And I try to, stay in touch every few months to just see how people are doing and if there's anything I can do for them. So
Yep.
I've seen a lot of businesses. And so while I'm not a business coach, I'm always happy to spend time, giving any advice I could
Yeah.
possibly do.
Absolutely.
So that's
Definitely.
it. It's fun. I learn. I see a little bit about a lot of different businesses, so I
Yep.
know what's out there. I know what's going to be hot in the future, and it's definitely a fun business for sure.
Absolutely. Now, could somebody do this as a side gig? Say they had a full-time job they were really feeling comfortable with, but they had extra income from that, and they really would like to invest it in something else other than the stock market. Could somebody open a franchise business or become a franchisee and still be able to keep their full-time job going?
Yeah, that's a great question, and there are a lot of opportunities where you would have to run it yourself or it'll never get off the
Hmm.
ground. But there are also several options where you could keep your job. And we call them like active investor or semi-passive. You don't
Yep.
have to be there Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. You still have to put time into it. It's not like, just throwing your money in a mutual fund, but your
Right.
role is managing the managers, um, overseeing the administrative, helping to build the culture of the organization, overseeing the marketing. But you have a manager in there that's running the day-to-day operation.
Yep.
And quite frankly, also as more and more people are working from home, there's more flexibility. So it's made it even easier for some of the
Hmm.
people who don't want to walk away from the day job because
Yep.
they like the salary and the benefits, but
Yep.
they also want to build something for themselves, and so there's a lot of great opportunities that can fall into that, and
Yep.
some of the franchisors just have amazing systems and technology for the franchisees to run a business that way. So
Yeah, absolutely. And the systems, the technologies, the processes that the franchisors have put in place are one of those things that make this such a valuable business that you can get into and not have to develop all of those systems from scratch yourself. Somebody else has already done it, proven that this is successful.
Exactly. There's a lot of people that want to create everything
Hmm.
themselves. So, a true entrepreneur that wants to build everything from the ground up. But as you mentioned earlier, with those statistics that you found,
Yep.
um, it's very difficult to do that, and most small businesses don't make it. Most independent small businesses, the ones
Yep.
that do, it's fantastic, but it's very difficult to create everything from scratch. With a franchise, there's still going to be a learning curve, but they've made
Yep.
all the mistakes. They've developed the systems. They know who the customer is, how to market to the customer, how to brand it. If it does have a storefront, they know what you need to build it out. They've already got the architectural drawings, or the plans that they can pass over to you. So
Yeah.
you're really several steps ahead of the curve with a franchise. And of course, you pay for that with the franchise fee and the royalties. But if you find the right franchise, it's in my opinion, a heck of a lot easier than trying to, start something from scratch, basically.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I think that there is definitely an attraction to that, as you mentioned. Not everybody wants to start things from scratch. So now I have a question that I like to ask all the guests on the show, and it might be a little different for you as in your role as a franchise consultant. But if you were to be given $1 million to invest in your business or invest in general, what would you do with that?
Well, that's a great question. And if I was investing $1 million in my business, I don't know what I could possibly do. I would,
Sure.
I would be all over the internet, but
Yep.
I probably wouldn't take the $1 million and do that. What I would do
Yeah.
is look for a semi-passive manager-run franchise
Hmm.
that I really liked, and there are some concepts that I love right now, and I would take
Yep.
that money and probably put it into developing multiple units of a concept where I could continue doing what I love, which is the franchise consulting, but also build a business on the side.
Yeah.
Um, the, the one other thing I might consider would be doing something like a master franchise or a regional franchise. And
Okay.
that's when you buy the rights to a whole state.
Oh,
And
okay.
you might open something yourself, but your role is also you're the almost like the franchisor, the parent company for that state. And so
Okay.
you help bring in new franchisees and support those franchisees, and you get a little piece of the royalties and a little piece of the franchise
Oh,
fee.
nice.
So,
Okay.
so if
Excellent.
$1 million is coming my way, we got a couple good options. If
Absolutely.
anyone out there wants to, toss me, toss me $1 million, I love
Jeff can help you. Jeff can
it.
help it. Excellent. Now, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, Jeff, what is the best way for them to reach out to you?
So thanks for asking, Zach. It's my cell phone is always on and always available. It's 248-506-1101. You can also reach me at Jeff at franchiseguidance.com. or
Okay.
my website, which is www.franchiseguidance.com.
Excellent. And I'll make sure we get those in the show notes that people can get access to that too if they didn't catch that. But Jeff is definitely a resource, a wealth of knowledge in this franchise world, and would very much be of value to you if you give him a call, shoot him an email, reach out. He also has some resources on his website too for you to just check out if you're just kind of interested in perusing this idea. So thank you again, Jeff.
Zach, thanks so much for having me on the podcast. I love it. I'm so happy for you. And, it's been an honor to get a chance to be on here with you.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, Jeff. Thank you again, and we'll talk again soon.